Hi everyone, welcome back. So I was taking a break and I hope you are not tired entirely yet. I know it's a kind of difficult follow up. So including I myself was a little bit tired. So I took a fresh break and I want to just make this video in two parts so it's easier to follow for you and also me. And up to this point, what do we have now? Let me close this. And that should be alright. We don't have to worry about that. So up until this point, we have two displays that keep tracking of what is the application state, basically a variable in our application that it's going to keep changing throughout the life cycle of the application. Though we don't have we haven't had a user input to make this variable change yet. All we can do is change the state from the source code itself, which is not a good thing, but we will get there later. And we have a button that says hi whenever we click it, so this is something of course we can make use of later on. And it has a by default BMI 20. And now let's clean up things a little bit. Instead of making things making BMI 20 and then weight 80, height 2, which is unrealistic because it's the chance of someone being with those exact information are pretty low. So let's make it. I want to introduce a new word for programming. That is no. Now, just as the meaning in English, it means empty. It means nothing. It means this sort of vague term of has absolutely nothing there. So let's make this BMI. Let's see what happened. Right now, you see the height in the application state is nothing because we say it's null, which means display nothing. Right? It's not a zero, but it's nothing. So that's why I display nothing. And for the BMI, we don't want it to be. Let's make it null as well. How about that? Let's make it null. So by default, everything will be null, and it will display nothing because, of course, we haven't put in our information yet. That makes sense. And also, if we scroll down at line 32, instead of calling this button with a name called a button, let's call this calculator, because ultimately that's what we need to do. We need a button to, when we press it, it says our BMI, right? So what's the next thing we need to do? It's pretty obvious. Right now we have the thing pretty much ready, but we're lacking some input space, something like, when we go to google.com. Actually, I'm already on google.com. So you see, we need something like this type in sort of input. To do that, luckily there's a thing called text input right there. The team of React Native, they have already done that for us, so we don't have to do everything from scratch. All we need to do is, let's do it right under here at view, at open bracket, at open tag for view. At the end of it, press enter, make us a fill line, put it, scroll back up, open angle bracket, text input, right? Now we have text input technically, but we need to put a slash there, by the way, to make it self-closed, because it just have to some of those are just norms like button and then text input. They're not acting like text because the chance of you are going to put some child component inside of text input is basically zero, because there's no way you can put, it's possible to put in some text inside of a text, but And then it's also possible that we put in a bunch of stuff inside of a view, but it's impossible to put in, let's say, a button inside of a text input. So that's why they're self-closing, and there's no way that we can put in a text input inside of a button. That's why they're self-closing. So instead of having two separate tag like text, we're gonna just have one tag. And how do we change the property, or how do we change, how do we modify it, the outlook of it? The way to do it is we give it some property in between those closing, in between the text input and then the closing tag itself. Let's give it a placeholder. So for those who don't know what placeholder is, let me finish this. What is your weight? If we go back, you see, that's a placeholder. It's the sentence be written on the text input that tells you what you should do in this, what you should put in this text input. So if I click on that and I start to type, the placeholder is gonna disappear. And if I type nothing, it's gonna have a hint there telling me what to put in there. So that you got that. And then you notice this thing, it's kind of ugly. It's all the way to the left, and then it's not clear, and it's kind of difficult to read. So what I did was I create another style here inside of, this is all styles. There are a bunch of style applying to different kind of components, and I created another one called text input style. Let me uncomment it, and it's warning us because I have this but I never use it, which I will. I say this text input should have a height of 40 pixels and with a border width of 1 pixel, and the border color should be gray. To apply that style onto our text input, we simply say style equals, open a bracket, close a bracket, and then move back in the middle. The technique I would like to use to make sure I have brackets right is, so I do my brackets first and then move my cursor one step back and then start to type whatever I want to type. So in this case it's styles dot text input, because we are selecting some styles. Always selecting one style called text input inside of a whole bunch of styles. That's what is that's why it's called styles here. And then from all these 1, 2, 3 styles, we select the one called text input and apply it onto this text input. Right? So if I got it right, we should have yeah, indeed we have a nicer looking text input right now. So I guess we need two, right? Because there's one for weight and there's one for height. So let me copy all this, Control C or Command C in Mac, paste that in. But at this time, I want to make it basically ask the user for height instead of weight, right? And everything else will remain the same. We should now see two text input. Let's see. Of course, fair enough. Oh, but notice we are missing something. We should probably have some sort of title here, right? Let's make a title as well, right above all this text input thing. Let's make a, you know what, let's just use text as our title. And text, good. Separate them, put in some text in there. Actually, you know what, it's short, so let's put it into one line. It's okay, because you see we have text separate into 3 lines, but it's actually okay to stack them all into one line. App, BMI Calculator app. And let's see how it looks. Okay, it's here, which is not the best looking, but let's give it a style as well. where was it? Here, under here, style, select that, equals, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and then styles. From styles, select, this time paragraph. Now it gives us the middle bold black BMI Calculator app sort of title. Okay. Now what would be interesting is if we put in our weight 82, or maybe something else. Let's put it 90. It doesn't change our state at all. So when I calculate, it still stays high, but our BMI doesn't even change at all. They never change. So we must have a way. There must be a way to somehow pass in those variables into the state, into the application state. Let's try to do that. And notice that. Right. Let me just finish this. The way we communicate the text input, user's input into the application state is by saying at the end of this, say on text change, right? So basically you see back then when we do our button, there's a thing called on press, and now in text input there's a thing called on change text. Basically on something is generally referred as a event handler, which means when certain event happen, do something. In this case, what we want to do is we want to communicate the value of this text input back up, all the way back up into the state, the application state, weight, height, and BMI, right? Actually, we only need to pass into weight and height. The BMI value will be calculated later on, right? So on change text, do something, and remember to do something you need to do a curly brackets pair, so ask it to do something. This time around the syntax is a little bit clumsy. We need to first give it a name, sort of automatically refer what I mean. There's a value attached to this text input, which we should give it a name to, and we can give any name to it. In this case, I will just give it as weight. Let's call it. Okay. You see my lines being too long, and it pushes back up down there. So in this case, I will just do a return here to make it into second line, so it looks a little bit better, cleaner. Let's do this again. Let's do this all over again. I just want to make sure you understand what is going on here. On change text, when the text has been changed, do this, and what you need to do is take the input, take the text that has been changed, and call it weight input. Make sure you have this little underscore there, and give it an arrow function sign, which is an equal sign and a greater than sign. What it does is it's passing in a weight input, which is the value of the input, the things that we are actually putting in, and do something with it. What is the things we want to do with it? It's called, this is the magic. This is where the magic really happens. This stop set state, because this time around we want to we're not only reading some sort of height and weight from the state, but we are setting the state when we get a user input, right? So this arrow function, symbolically means we are getting this and putting it into the state via the set state method. And to set state, we need to first call set state with braces, and then we give another curly bracket to specify which part of the state do we actually want to set. In this case, in this particular text input case, it's called, because we are getting weight input, right? So let's set it as weight, and the value should be equals to, of course, whatever the input is. So these two correspond to each other, while this weight here is corresponding to the weight up here. We are setting the old weight into the new weight. So now, if we go back to our application and type in something in our weight, whatever we type in is going to be transferred into the application state, right? That is, pretty cool. Could be anything. Could be even English. But notice that the second one doesn't work because, of course, we haven't do it for the second text input. So let's just copy this. Copy this. Make a new line. Then paste that in. But then, of course, we need to change the weight into height input. And then here, of course, we need to match up. And this time around, we're also changing the state, but a different part of state, which is height. We already changed the weight up here, but we had never changed the height, which we are doing in these two lines. So now, whenever we are putting things in the input boxes, they will now get updated into the state. And now we can do something with the value in state. You see, initially they were null, but whenever the user put into things, it gets automatically updated into whatever it is, right? And it shows here. What about BMI? We need to calculate the BMI out, right? The user doesn't know how to calculate BMI. We are assuming that, right? So when the user is done typing in their BMI, which in this case 80 kg and then 2 kg, we need to, the user intuitively, he or she will be clicking this button and hope that his BMI will pop up, right? So let's do that. Remember how do we tell the computer to do something when user click a button? Okay, on press, this dog handle click. What is handle click doing? It's doing nothing but alerting a message called hi. So this time we want this function to do more, basically. We wanted to say your BMI is calculated. Actually, but before it says it's calculated, we need to actually calculate it. So the concept is we need to create a new variable. Let's put it this way: we need we need to update this value here on the state. So how do we do that? This, again, just like down there, this set state, which is extremely powerful, or I should say the most important concept in this application. We start setting the state again, which means update. Right, let me put it there for you. This set state means updating values. And which state are we updating to this time? Put in a curly bracket to say that we're updating BMI. We're updating BMI into what? We're updating into a calculation. So what is the calculation supposed to be? So remember the BMI formula I pulled up earlier. Oh, I cannot use Google. Let me use Baidu. BMI formula. Because I'm in China right now. Apparently it doesn't allow me to use Google. Which is not very helpful. Right. Right, so there we go. BMI equals to weight in kilograms and then divided by height in meters times height in meters, right? That's what we need. To express that with a JavaScript program, all we need to do is this dot state and this dot state dot dot weight, and then divide this with this dot state dot the height. So we need to multiply this by itself. Let me just copy this real quick. Copy times it by itself and then give it a braces. What is it complaining about? Okay, I don't know why it's complaining about something, but I guess we should be able to do this. So now we change our BMI state into, firstly, use this divided by the height times itself, and then alert, and then say your BMI is calculated. And because of our BMI is already updated, and remember how React Native works is whenever a state has been updated, it will automatically refresh the screen and put in whatever number, whatever the BMI is in here, right in here. So if we go back now, let me see this. If it doesn't work, I know what has been wrong. We know the computer recognizes it's 80 weight, and then height is 2 meters. Let's do calculate. All of a sudden, now our application is complete, and it says my BMI is calculated, and then of course it shows the right BMI. How about, let's say I'm 1.8 meters tall. Notice that automatically gets changed, and when I calculate again, the BMI is also changed. This is now basically done. We are basically done with our program. And of course we can do a whole bunch of stuff. Let's say we don't want this float number here, we just want a whole number. We can do that, but that is not what we're going to be doing today. I don't want to throw too much stuff at you in one lesson. So if you can do this, you can follow this, it will be already great. If you have any question, please leave comments down below in the video description. In the comment section. So I hope you learned something from this video, and I will see you next time.